Hello, hello.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. Voice sounds really good, really strong. Do you happen to have any forward lighting,
Hmm.
like
Probably not.
like an LED or anything?
Let me see here. Possibly.
You're getting a really bad glare off your glasses
In
from your
my head.
and your face is kind of really
Good
dark
morning.
because of the backlight.
Doing? I'm well. How are you?
Good. Voice sounds really good, really strong. You'll have to turn your speaker off.
Yeah, I get you. Probably not.
Like an LED or anything.
Let me see here. Possibly.
You're getting a really bad glare off your glass. Your face is kind of really dark because of the backlight.
I'm well. How are you?
Good. Voice sounds really good, really strong. Are you guys in the live right now? We're actually setting up our broadcast. I didn't realize that our starting now screen had an audio to it, and I see it's coming through right now. As you can see, this is not the $1 million setup that people are used to. Are you guys in the live right now? We're actually setting up our broadcast. I didn't realize that our starting now screen had an audio to it, and I think it's coming through right now. Our customers are the $1 million everything setup that people are used to. They can actually hear our microphone. Audio to it. Our customers are the $1 million.
How about that? Check 1, 2.
Let's see how that works. I think I had another browser window open that was killing it.
Oh, okay. Okay, right on. Well, we got we're fluctuating anywhere from 2 viewers up to 6 so far. And it is 8:59. So if you want, we can go ahead and kick this bad boy off. I am excited for this episode.
Sounds great.
All right, I'm going to start the intro for us. Let's see here. All right, here we go.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
All right, let's see here. Uh-oh, I did something wrong, Rob.
There you are.
There we go. All right. Let's see. I got to work on this in the background while we do this. For those of you that join my broadcast, thank you. For those of you that are new, if you'd like to comment and have your comment on the screen, such as Ali, you can click the StreamYard link up in the description, and I will know who you are, where you're coming from, whether you're a YouTube subscriber, a Facebook subscriber, or a business page subscriber. It'll show your name, and we'll be able to address you directly. That way you're not just some person in the crowd. Today's guest, I'm very excited about this. Mr. Rob Johnson from 490 Creations and Learn PC or LearnPlasmaCam.com. Rob, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and give us some background so my clientele knows who you are and how we know each other.
Sure. Yeah. Gosh, I'm just an old guy, right? I started in plasma cutting, 7, 8, 9 years ago now, something like that. And originally got into it to do duct work for heating and air conditioning, as I've been a contractor in HVAC since '96. So that's where it started and how I got into it. Saw a need for teaching it, so started doing that, and that's how we got hooked up. When you first started out, you were looking for some guidance and some extra pointing, and I gave you a little water, and you now grown to a great big old tree. So
I will tell you guys, without Rob's help, my stuff wouldn't be where it's at today. I make sure to tell Rob all the time, thank you. It is when you learn a new software, like I did in the speed and time in which I had to, it was great to have a mentor do that. So, it was one of those, it was a very trying week that first week. It was a very trying first 4 hours of getting the machine put together. I have my first plasma machine where Rob helped me the most was my PlasmaCam DHC2.
Mm-hmm.
And it took about 4 good hours on the phone with you to go ahead and get that squared away, like understand the software settings.
It did. I mean, when you start anything new, doesn't matter what it is, but anything new that you're, not even necessarily unfamiliar with, but if you're unfamiliar with the way the new system that you've got works, it takes some time to get the learning curve up to speed. And so, yeah, that's what I try to do, with the teaching stuff. But more importantly, I help people all the time that shoot me a message or give me a call. So I'm happy to do that. But it's overwhelming because you've got all of these things to process all at once, and so it's nice to have a little more direction maybe than just reading a manual or watching some videos on YouTube.
So, first things first, what are you drinking this morning?
I'm drinking black coffee. That's the only way I drink it.
Okay. You like your coffee like you like your men?
That's right, exactly. Yes, and women. It's a bad deal. But, one at a time. No, I have at home. I brought my coffee from home. I'm here at the store now. We have a little retail store, but I bring it from home because at home I have it's a Jura Capresso coffee machine. So you put the whole beans in one side and the water in the other, and when you push the button, it grinds it up for you and presses it and makes you what's called crema coffee. So it's got a little foam on top of it, and it's once you have that, then really it's hard to go to anything else.
Right on. Well, Seth is on here. Jixer. He says your audio is great. Mine's faded out a little, so I moved my pop filter off. If you guys hear my lisp or my pops from my hard consonants, I'm sorry. But in any event, so what kind of coffee are you drinking this morning? Is it a certain brand, or do you do Maxwell House whole bean?
It's, I've tried coffee from Hawaii, Kona coffee. I've brought it in. I've tried coffee from local growers and roasters, and it's really good. But to be honest, every time I always go back to Starbucks French roast because I like strong coffee. So, we go through a lot of coffee beans.
Yeah, I likewise here. Right now, I'm drinking. What am I drinking? I think I'm drinking just Maxwell House. My wife made it. But, usually, whenever I make coffee, I do my favorite right now is probably Raven's Brew Dead Man's Reach out of Ketchikan, Alaska.
Been there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
My friend Terry lives there. He's a contractor there. I did some motorcycle parts for him. I'm trying to think. I did plaques and stuff for him for hanging his motorcycle parts up and stuff like that. But I ended up getting some coffee from him like a decade ago, and I've just been progressively getting better and better. Yeah, we got Carlos in here giving us a pumpkin spice shout out. He's of Latino descent, so he has his what do they use? Tapatia, the hot sauce.
I don't know.
Yeah, he's got the hot sauce in his coffee. So
I'm a purist. I want coffee flavored coffee, nothing extra. I want it as strong as you can make it. If you can put a butter knife in it and it stands up, it's just right for me. And I need it smoking hot. So
one of my favorite things to do with my coffee is have you ever heard of bulletproof coffee?
Tapatio. I love Tapatio, but not in my coffee.
Bulletproof coffee, you mix in whole butter, like grass-fed butter, and MCT oil or coconut oil.
I've done that.
And I add in a little bit of cocoa powder, and not Coke powder, cocoa powder.
Yeah. A small difference.
Yeah, small difference. But and man, it really does a number for you.
I think I had that when I was doing a keto.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's keto coffee. Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah,
obviously I've abandoned that, but
So I've got a project here. I'm going to showcase something that I knocked out. And this was something we talked about way back when I first got the machine up and running. and I've been knocking these out like crazy each month. You remember talking about these bad boys?
Oh yeah, sure. Yep.
Little cake toppers,
Yep.
and I can do 70 thousandths if I turn it down to 90 inches a minute, and I
Right.
took that and I put it in the back of my mind. I I think I think people get things confused when it comes to CNC machines. That if you know how to run one CNC machine, you know how to run every CNC machine.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think that that's right, and I think the corollary is that if you have run one, it must be the best, and all the others are no good. Uh, it's what we know, right? So you're comfortable with what you know how to run it, and so it does what you need. But uh, there's a lot in theory with CNC that requires you be able to set the machine so that it can perform. And so that happens differently across every machine. So some are able to control acceleration settings, some aren't. Some control it and call it out in one unit, and some make that same thing happen in another unit. And so you're speaking two different languages across machines. So yeah, it really requires the theory so that you can then look at that across the platforms and make it happen.
Right on.
Yeah.
For me, I got the plasma cam,
Mhm.
but I had already been doing custom built CNC machines, mainly mills and lathes.
Right.
So I was familiar with Mach 3.
Mhm.
And then I got into plasma cam, which has its own proprietary everything.
Right.
And that was something new. And then shortly after that, I got my first X-Carve
Mhm.
CNC router, which was Gerbil based,
Right.
which is an open source Arduino
Yeah.
CNC. And I like to tell people it's like a Latino language,
Right.
a American English language, a British American language, and a Russian language.
Yeah.
Because you're all able to say the same thing, you just say it differently.
Right.
And I think our goal as technicians and creators and makers is to bridge that gap as a translator.
Right. And that causes us that's one of the biggest struggles that I have in teaching people to work in my business, because we do so many different things, but they're all almost all of them are CNC based in some way. So we've got the plasma cam, a couple of them to cut the metal and do some milling, some routing, but mostly metal with those. But then we also have CO2 laser, and that came from China, so it speaks Chinese. But then we also have a fiber laser engraver, and so that works and does similar, but the control is through a galvo head, so it has a whole different set of settings and things to pay attention to with it. So they all do similar things. Everything moves in X, Y, and Z, but all of the controls for acceleration and speeds and things are completely different. One's in inches a minute, the other one's in millimeters a second. One of them maxes out at 500. The Fibril runs 7,000 millimeters a second. I mean, it's just insane trying to get everybody in my company up to speed on how and what they need to do to set up the machine.
Yeah, I always found it interesting when you and I were working together on video chats, and you would design something, but you'd be working in 2 or 3 different softwares.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, oh, I have to remember this. That's the wrong one. That's the wrong shortcut. And now with me taking on the role of consulting people on different things, I find myself, I like the simplicity of Design Edge, which is the plasma software. But like when I'm doing router stuff, I export the DXF, bring it into vCarve, an
Right.
Aspire product or a Vectric product. And then I'm sitting there hitting control
Yeah.
and deselecting everything instead of shift selecting each part.
You have no idea how many help windows I open in a day. Because F1 is zoom in Design Edge, and in the entire rest of the software planet, that's the help window.
Yep.
So I have 6 or 8 of them open up all at once because I'm zooming in, and that's not happening. And on the laser, the CO2 software uses the mouse wheel to zoom in and out, right? I use Lightburn. So, that's great, except the fiber uses EasyCAD and the wheel is backwards and you can't change it. So, I mean, it's a lot of going the wrong direction back there.
So I think one of the things where you and I really meshed well in the beginning was the fact that I had multiple machines already, and I was just adding that. And you yourself have multiple machines. So you told us you have a couple different lasers. You have your plasma machines, and some of your plasma machines are set up for routering, so you can router on it. Is that correct?
Yeah, I have to change back and forth. I don't have one dedicated. That was a plan some time back, but I decided instead to shrink my 5x10 extra 5x10 table down to a 2x2 and put it in our retail store. So if it's a small design and they don't want it powder coated, I can draw it and cut it here in the store and they can walk out with it. So that has helped. So I originally was going to set one up for routing only, but I do have the 3D software in Design Edge and use vCarve as you do to create those tool paths because it does the best job, right? And so that goes back to I used multiple programs because you want to use whichever one does the best job at what you need to do. You use that, and
so my workflow typically for a router project, it goes, and this is a direct correlation from how I watched you operate, is JPEG, Paint.net, Vinyl Master, into Design Edge, into vCarve.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. I mean, because now here's the crazy thing. I have Vinyl Master DSR. Vinyl Master
upgraded to that because of you.
Yeah, it has some crazy powerful node editing stuff, but it has also some great limitations.
Yeah.
But I mean, really, there's a tool called Replace Section in Vinyl Master, and if you haven't used it, you need to watch some videos on that. And
I haven't used it.
Oh, dude, you can take a jagged area and you click however close you want it to together, and it replaces as you go and smooths the path out, and it's insane.
Really?
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, so I use that. Yeah, I use that a lot. Now, you want me to weld 2 shapes together or trim and extend something? I'm out.
Yep, off the Design Edge.
Back to Design Edge. I can have it imported in Design Edge, fixed, and shipped back to Vinyl Master before I can ever get one path trimmed.
Yep, and that's what I tell people, and I have guys. Well, if you'd learn your software right, you'd only need one of them, and I'm like,
right?
Why do I have to learn one software?
No problem. You go learn it all about all of the softwares, and I'll print money over here while you're screwing around with that.
Right.
I mean,
and that's one of the things that brings us to another topic. But that's one of the things that the guys don't understand is everybody has their way that they learn and the way that they're comfortable with. So some guy may work strictly in SolidWorks. Some guy might work in SolidWorks and Mastercam. And some guy might do, base designs here in Cricut Design and move it over to SolidWorks and extrude it so it's 3D and then skin it in Mastercam.
Yeah. Right.
All in
two things. Well, you're gonna use what you're comfortable with. So whatever you're doing, pick what you're comfortable with and do it. I mean, if you can do it better in Vinyl Master and skip the step I have to take, great. If you can't, don't. But I mean, it's different pieces of software are like having different guys working in your shop. If you've got one that's a welder and one that's a fitter, if you need something fitted, you don't take it to the welder. Okay. I mean, so if I need to work with something that's got some screwed up paths and it's already vectored, I take it into Design Edge and clean it up.
Yep.
I mean, I don't ask Vinyl Master to do it because it has a hard time. So, use the tools you have available. And
I think that shows a better understanding of the software because you know the limitations and you're able to work around them.
Right. You know the limitations, you know the capabilities. Right. I mean, Lightburn has some awesome features. It'll offset open paths. You can use it for previews. If you're working in Design Edge, it will not offset an open path, but Lightburn will. So you pull it in, make a preview, send it.
Yeah. And that really opened my eyes as I watched you work and the way you worked in trying to educate me on the machine. I took that to heart and I said, if it's good enough for this man, and he's been doing it for decades, making money at it, it's got to be good enough for me. And that brings me to the next point of making money. So
is that the goal? Yeah,
that's the goal, but I haven't found it yet. So how do you feel about this industry and making money on it? Do you think the sign industry, the signage industry, the art industry is profitable enough to make a full-time living on?
Well, I hope so. Well, I mean, I do a lot of different things, but
right.
But I want all of them to make money. So it doesn't really matter. So the answer to that is maybe not as simple as it should be, because knowing how to run a piece of software to draw something cool is great. But if you want to make money at it, now you have to know how to run a business. And that's a whole different thing. Okay. Right. And so you need to understand the concepts of overhead and profit and corporate taxes and income and sales tax and shipping and inventory shrinkage. And so you have to learn more. But this goes back. I didn't start out in the sign business fresh and start business at the same time. Right. So I've been a heating and air contractor. So I spent years doing it the wrong way, not making money in the heating and air business. And so I went to classes, business classes, and I learned how to market and how to sell and how to reach, essentially reach a target market. So that's the thing. Can you compete with the big art steel distributors? There's a couple of them. No, but I don't want to. Right. I mean, so that's not my target market. I'm not going to sell, cookie cutter monograms and ever make any money. I can locally if people want my product locally, and I can beat the time frame and no shipping. Right. And people want to buy local. So you have to find your target market, and then you have to sell to them, and you have to charge a price, not based on what the guy in the next county overselling, but on what it costs you to be in business, to run your machines, to pay the electric bill, to pay the employees, what percentage of your entire annual income needs to go to pay your overhead, and build that into your selling price. And then you can make money at it. Now, the problem is that when you're busy, you're buying materials and you're working ahead, right? So the busier you are, the less cash you have in your bank. Sorry, that's just how it works. Now, if you're slow, right, then you have money in your bank until you pay the overhead without any income for a while, and then it goes away. So you've got to find the balance. You got to find a way to get some money to sit in your bank and stay there for a minute, long enough for you to leverage it to make more, without running out.
And for me, it's been it's been a difficult exercise. Everybody, so as I got into this, I did not get into this to make art or make parts or anything. I got into this because I like playing with my CNC machines. I like building my machines. I like not having to deal with people on a day-to-day basis unless I want to, in general. But one thing that I found was as I got into this, I built more of a brand following than I did an artistic following. So I have a lot of my clientele buys not because they're buying a piece of art. They buy because they're buying a Croft CNC piece of art. And I have a following that just I can't lose with it.
Mm-hmm.
And in doing so, I've expanded my market. Now I'm getting to the point where I started out very narrow.
Mm-hmm.
I broadened over 2 to 3 years. I broadened out to this big whitewashed area,
Mm-hmm.
and I built my brand. Now I find myself coming back in and bringing it full circle to, I want to play with my CNC machines again. And kind of everything.
It's good to be diversified, but it's not so good to be so diverse that you can't keep up with anything, which is, borderline the point that I've gotten to. But you have to be able to manage it from a business perspective. You have to be able to manage it from a customer's perspective. You've got to keep the quality up for the brand you've built. Right. So no matter what you sell that's branded to you, you have to keep the quality up, because you can lose it if you start cranking out bad stuff. I mean, there are a lot of big companies that have found that out.
We know that one that had the Christmas issue.
Right. Well, and they're probably going to have one again, maybe.
Yeah,
but
I think so.
Yeah.
They've really been pushing those ads and stuff like that.
It's great. I mean, you know what? It's a lot better, I have found in my life, to under promise and over deliver. And so you need to be conservative. You can't say, sure, if you order it by December 18th, I'll get it to you by Christmas. And you know that you can't possibly do that. So, promise what you can. I mean, I've already cut off custom metal orders till after the first of the year. I'm done. I don't have any time to do anymore.
Right.
But then I've been building park benches for the city, and I got 580 feet of handrail to build for the city. And so, I mean, I've got a lot of jobs going, that are part of what I do, but they take my time. Now I can't do the other stuff. And so I'm keenly aware of how many hours I have in each day to work. And so that's a really good point too, is time management. And both you and I have had a pretty rough year as far as medical issues that have impacted business. Yeah.
Talk on that a little bit. Fill us in and give us some insight on where you're at with things and how that impacted.
Well, I mean, I fell 12 feet and broke my back. So I was in a back brace for 7 months. Couldn't lift anything heavier than a gallon of milk. So you have to learn as a business owner, if you're going to grow. I mean, it depends on whether you're a one-man shop with the garage, the machine in the garage, and maybe you and your spouse work full-time other places. I mean, this goes different places for different people that are in different situations. But for us, I mean, I've got a store in town where my rent's $1,200 a month and utilities, and we both work here. So this is the income. There isn't any other.
Right.
And so you have to have delegated before. The business can't be the person, because if it is, you can't ever measure up. And what are you going to do? So while you're down, if you're physically unable, you must have people in place that can do maybe not all that you do, but enough to get by until you get back, so that you don't come back to a foreclosure, or an eviction notice. So, I mean, right. You have to learn to delegate, which was very hard for me in the heat and air business, right? Because again, my product was my brand and it was me because I was good at what I did. Right.
Everybody knows our
Yeah.
face as the face of our companies.
Correct. Right. So I quit putting my name is not on my business cards anywhere. Okay. Never have I named the business after myself. And I can't give you that lecture because you're already in that hole. But
I named it as a family business.
That's right. That's right. And it can work. I mean, it happens a lot of places, but I don't name a business by family because I've built a business with the goal of selling the business. Now, will I ever sell it? I don't know.
See, but I never built it with the intentions of selling it. I built it as a way for me to control how much money I am able to bring in for the family.
Yeah. And that has value. And there's, I mean, there's nothing wrong with a company named after people. I mean, Johnson & Johnson does it just fine, but, you just have to be careful. Any business decision you make should be with the thought in mind, how does this increase the value of the business if I were going to sell it?
Now, see, a lot of people don't realize, but like you have multiple businesses or DBAs. And we talked about that, and I have multiple because of, liability shelling and stuff like that. One company is not the end all be all break all. If you do something wrong in this day and age, $125 in a lawyer, you can create the sellable product, the sellable company,
right,
and transfer assets between and stuff like that. And that's something a lot of these new people coming in don't understand, don't know. And then on top of that, God forbid you want to get into education of people for this stuff. We talked about 490 creations, but you found your niche in teaching a machine specific program.
Right.
Fill us in on that aspect.
So, I mean, PlasmaChem as a company, they've been selling CNC tables in the hobby to light commercial market since the 90s. And they probably got, they're a very secretive company, but if you look at the numbers and how long they've been selling, how many people are in their owners forum, I would estimate probably worldwide they have somewhere over 20,000 tables. And so they have a lot of the market, like it or not, love them, hate them, whatever. And so they don't offer any training. And so I reached out to them when I found the need through Facebook, people calling me, messaging me, wanting to know would I help them. And so it got a little tricky. So what happened was I talked to them and they said, we're not interested in doing more training on our equipment. And I said, okay, I will. So I formed a company and I started doing regional workshops. I originally had a 2-day with an optional 3rd day, but we cover a tremendous amount of material in 3 days. And so I nixed that right after the first class and made it a 3-day class. If you want to skip the 3rd day, great, but you're going to miss some stuff. And so doing that I had over 300 people through class so far in just a couple of years. And so it's been really good. It's been great. It's very helpful for the people that come. It's difficult to reach all the people that may, how do you say it? Not know they need to come, or not, not even want to come or be interested, or don't know about it. And so, I always tell the story. The very first class that I ever did, there was a guy there that he had his machine for 14 years. Okay. So he's had a machine 14 years. And he talked about coming to this class because he saw me advertise it on Plasma Spider or Facebook. And he said, I'm not going to that class. He's talking to his wife. His wife says, no, you need to go. If you learn one thing, it'll be worth it. And so this guy who's had his machine 14 years has been back to 2 more classes and at lunchtime on the first day of the first class I ever did stopped me and said we could stop right now and it would be worth it, worth what I spent to come. So
Yeah.
we cover a lot of information, shave many, many years off of a learning curve. And so we've taken that and then branched out to have products like the one you showed, the Design Edge shortcut mouse pad, and several other things that plasma cam owners need. And so it's been great to be able to talk to all of these owners and fellow plasma cutters that use that system. And it's been a great time.
So I built on that platform. You and I actually discussed this in private conversations and stuff. And I came from a teaching background, so I was very much like, I found myself sitting at my machines going, I'm on Facebook all the time helping people. I'm not making money from it. I'm getting goodwill, but I'm not paying the bills for the time I'm taking away from running my machines. So how can I monetize this? And I started out with X-Carve workshops. I did 2 of them. They operated, but they didn't do what I wanted them to do. Mainly because at that time, everything was going on with my business, Christmas rush, Corona was getting ready to hit. So that kind of blew up everything as far as getting it instituted, four classes a year, different locations, So what I did was I took a step back and I said, let's put this on a virtual platform where the customer can go at their own rate, 6 to 9 minute classes, and we cover one topic after another in an organized fashion. Now, this is nothing you can't find on Facebook forums or YouTube.
Right.
I'm not doing anything groundbreaking and brand new. It's just I'm organizing it in a fashion that they can go right down the row or they can go to a specific setup.
Right. And
what I found was I want to implement like a PDF. You print it out. There's the step-by-step. You can put it in a binder, go step by step. You can get a DXF or an SVG file with the project, download it on a thumb drive, put it in the binder with the project, and now you have a specific project binder. That also makes a good workbook for me to resale to the customer to expand the offering. And I don't have to do anything more other than just get ink and print it.
Yeah, this whole virus pandemic has really, screwed up in-person learning. We were doing 6 or 7 classes a year, and I'm still going to, I've got back-to-back classes. I've got a class in Vegas next week and then another one in San Antonio the first weekend of December. So with Thanksgiving in the middle, it's going to be crazy, but it's reschedules, right? So from May, we couldn't do it in San Antonio. So we moved it to December, and assuming the whole world doesn't blow up some more, then maybe everything happens okay. But hopefully, fingers crossed. But I've been hounded for an online option a lot, and the reason that I went to in person is because it conveys the information so much better. So I recognize the benefits of online. It's not that I don't see the benefits. It's just that, you studied to be a teacher. I tried to study to be a teacher, but couldn't put up with college and left because I really wanted to be a high school math teacher. So if you have any math or geometry questions, I'd love to do those. But I did read books on teaching. So, people learn different ways. You can't teach with one teaching style and expect to reach everybody, which is what the a video manual or a read a book thing is. If you're not a visual learner, reading a page is zero help. And so most people are a mix of those learning styles. So when I teach in class, it's a conscious effort to mix those styles up. So the only way that I can overcome it that I've found is I'm going to have somebody, I don't know yet, come and record a class. And then I'll take that. We'll have my teaching and the interaction with the students on a video so that I can break that into segments that we can do online, that I can be available through Zoom or whatever meeting platform we have. So it'll be not an online watch a video thing, take a test workbook thing, but an online watch a lesson, discuss it by Zoom with me. Hybrid maybe would be the right thing.
So my implementation was obviously a webinar style platform, in order video, and then a private contact group where you have to put in your purchase email. That name has to match up with the purchase. And then from there, you have me as one-on-one
right
throughout. Now, one of the things that I ran into was, I charge $1,000 for that.
Right.
And people are like, that's crazy. Why would I do that? Well, you go spend 5 hours searching through YouTube to find the one video that you want that actually gives you the information that you need. And you have a half hour to an hour of watching that and all the fluff, when you could have went to mine, 6 minutes, done, go out to your machine and do that.
Yeah, I mean, it has value. I could probably raise the price point of my classes, but I definitely would if I could reach the bulk of users, right?
So
but
one
problem
thing
is you can't reach them. Yeah.
One thing I did with that though is I actually segmented and do a la carte. So if you want to do a V-carve 3D carve project, you can buy that section for $100 to $200.
Yeah.
You get, like I said, you get the PDF, you get the file, and then something else that I'm doing additional is I'm creating toolkits. I paired up with a company and I'm creating toolkits where you buy the project, you buy the whole project kit and caboodle, you'll get the tooling to go with it.
Gotcha.
So that's one way that I went with it.
And there's great value in that, because then you do something and you learn the techniques used and the way to make it happen. I wish that model fit mine. Mine is kind of crazy. I'm teaching an entire software front to back, how to run the thing and how to make, go home and cut things when you've had dismal failure or you're having decent results and want better. And so, I can't tell you how to fine tune acceleration, but not tell you how height control is affected by that. So I just can't do that. So it's kind of crazy, but I do want to do a full class, and I don't expect that the price for attendance for the class is going to be any less, maybe more, for the online deal, because it's going to have to be spread out farther. With more time. However, you won't have the expense of airfare and hotels. So it may be a good wash and work for me where I won't have hotel expenses, and airfare. So
and you bring all your own computers.
Yeah.
You bring,
yeah.
Do you bring a small format machine to go over the parts and stuff, or not yet?
No, I don't. But most of the places we go, I'd consider it's too heavy, too much to ship around. But I do bring pieces and parts that I didn't have originally. So we pass them around, look at them, check them out, and see how the machine's put together and how it works. But usually we have an optional after one class, one day after class, there is, I'm in contact with a table owner that's close by, and we go to their table and do some cutting and drink a beer if they're that kind of folks or whatever. But don't do anything in class, because quite honestly, mechanically, they're very simple. They perform well. If you set up the software right, design the file right, and push the button right, then you're good to go.
That's a big key. I actually had to recut this twice. And
Yeah.
the reason being, I was cutting 11 gauge the day before,
Wow.
shut the machine down, knew I was cutting 16 gauge first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
I didn't change out the tip, and I didn't turn down the amperage.
Oh dear. Yeah.
I changed on the software, I changed it to 16 gauge,
Oh.
but I was still running at 45 amps
Yeah.
at a slower pace, and I was getting all kinds of hard dross.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. You're cutting way too hot. It's getting people to calibrate their height control is probably 2 hours of every day for me. Talking to people, messaging people, answering a question on a forum. And so, and it's not really any different. You see questions for other brands tables. It's not any different for them. They're just doing it a different way.
right.
And so, yeah, having everything set right, everything done right, everything designed and drawn right, and your machine set within its mechanical capabilities is key for making a good product. And so, cake toppers, I cut them out of acrylic on my laser.
Right. Now, so you have a bunch of, I would call them middle to high end lasers. Not everybody has a fiber laser.
No, true.
Let's be honest. A lot of people have the K40 CO2 lasers, the epilogues and stuff, but that's more of a high end laser.
Yeah, epilogue class. Mine's an imported Chinese machine. The CO2 is right.
Yeah.
Both of them are, but the fiber laser was a little more. It's a Wisely, and so it was a little more expensive for a Chinese machine. I think it was around $7 or $8 grand to get it here for a 50-watt Q switch. So, I mean, it's great, but the thing about it is when I added these pieces of machinery, I didn't do them all at once. So, when I help people, they're like, oh, you do laser and you do this and you do that. I'm going to go home and I'm going to upgrade my PlasmaCam software and order a CO2 laser and a fiber laser and a t-shirt printing machine. And then you have to learn all of this at once. Now, pretty soon you're overwhelmed and everything's on eBay, right? Because you need to pace yourself in what you add and what you do. But yes, so I'm a technician, right? I'm a heat and air guy. So I ordered this inexpensive Chinese machine. And essentially ripped it apart and put different kind of mechanics in it, changed it to a linear bearing. I mean, it's not the same machine that I paid $3,000 for, including freight from China and customs at the time.
Right.
And so, the comparable epilogue would be $30,000.
Right. And, for me, I have a epilogue, an older epilogue that still runs on XP.
Oh, wow.
Parallel port. Now, I want to tear it apart. I haven't found time, but I don't know the insides of an epilogue yet. And like you said, we're technicians. So that's what we do. Yeah. We figure it out. And then we tell people, hey, you have a 15, 20-year-old laser. The tube is still good. The motors are still good.
Yeah.
Here, this control board will work to upgrade you to a USB, and you can use Lightburn.
Yeah.
And now you have it fixed, and you have a new lease on a whole machine.
You
need
a
We got Bull Shannon on here asking who you are. This is Rob Johnson from 490 Creations. He also runs Learn PC or LearnPlasmaCam.com. He's a technician, an instructor, an all-around good guy, and a helpful teacher on the online forums. So
don't bad rumors. The controller on my Chinese laser is a Rowita brand. Okay, works with Lightburn, well known. Works with an RF tube. Works with a CO2 glass tube. So it would control that older epilogue if you redid the whole thing.
I've seen there's a new control board out there. It costs about $300. It's supposed to be an all-in-one laser specific, like a Rowita board.
Yeah.
Which for the people that don't know what we're talking about, we're kind of talking Greek to some of these people. Yeah. A Rowita board is what controls the laser altogether. And that's where we come in because we know this stuff. You guys This is more behind the scenes technical talk. But there's a company that just came out with a new board about 3 months ago. It's getting rave reviews on the K40s. It's a replacement board for the K40s. And I'm half tempted to tear this Epilogue apart. The only problem is I don't know what's proprietary, if they have a proprietary tube hookup, because I haven't torn apart a CO2 to
No, but the problem is it's going to use pulse wave modulation instead of an analog output. So go watch Russ's videos with his little tangerine tiger, and you'll have a lot more understanding of that.
I got paper. What Russ?
Yeah, it's gosh, what's his last name? He's in the UK. I'm pretty sure his YouTube channel is SARBAR Media, Sarber Media, I think. But if you search for RD Works Learning Lab, okay, he's the guy. I've seen everyone. I mean, I'm subscribed to his channel. He had a brand new one last night. I fell asleep. I couldn't even get through the intro because I watch him at bedtime. But he's actually, his most recent project, he's done fiber laser stuff. He's done CO2 laser stuff. He takes you through the journey from the day he bought it till the day to today, where he's doing stuff with it. He's a retired mechanical engineer and a really smart guy. Explains a lot of theory. So he gives you all the theory, to go with the machine that you get. So great guy, awesome teacher, because he takes you through the journey. As he learns it, you learns it. And there's some stuff he's gone back and added notes to his videos that said, hey, don't do it that way. I was wrong. So definitely don't need to replace all the China boards. If you get one with a Ruida controller, it's reliable. They do a great job. I've built on the Ruida system. I've added, higher voltage stepper motors and related drivers and added control to different axes. But if you have a Ruida board or something similar, I don't see any need to throw it out just because it's got Chinese writing on it. Oh, there's the guy. Yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah, that's him. Did I spell it right?
Let's see.
SARBAR.
Yes.
Yeah, multimedia. Yeah. If you have a Chinese laser or you're thinking about getting a Chinese laser, this is the guy to watch. The Tangerine Tiger stuff is a machine that had a glass tube. He bought it brand new, ripped out the old junk cheapy tube, and put in an RF tube, which is the metal tube like an Epilogue has. So
my Epilogue is really unique in the fact that I'm not sure what kind of tube it actually has, because I know Epilogue has a proprietary tube. Yeah. Now, from my understanding, you can retrofit a K40 tube to it, but nobody has any information on it. And I think it's because the Epilogue, the customer profile for Epilogue is, I want a machine out of the box that's going to run and it's going to run forever and make me money. So I'm going to pay the $10,000 for it.
Right. Or 20.
Right. And go from there. So nobody really messes with these lasers.
No.
They basically buy them and run them. Nobody fixes them.
I've had a guy through class, a very, very smart, nice guy. Name's Randy. He's a distributor for Epilogue in the southeast of the United States. And he came to class and actually came to the Tulsa, Oklahoma class, which we came to my shop to have beer and plasma cutting one night. So he sees my lovely Chinese laser over there and he's really impressed, because he's an Epilogue distributor, but we teased each other. But he said, if you want to be a laser operator, buy an Epilogue. If you want to be a laser mechanic, get one from China, which is pretty much true.
Right.
But my machine runs great. I just aligned the mirrors this morning, checked them. They were near perfect. Put in a 4-inch lens so I can cut some of those, Snowflake 2020 ornaments because I can't seem to cut them fast enough. And so yeah, those, mine just, I got a design. It's ever so slightly different, but yeah.
But that's the thing though, is, this is what I really get jazzed about with CNC machines is I'm sitting here talking about, at the time, that Epilogue laser was a $15,000 laser.
Oh yeah.
And
well, and it's probably 20 watts.
it's a 25 watt tube, but it's been overclocked so that it's actually pushing 30.
Yeah.
Which at the time on an XP machine, that was mind blowing.
Well, you can drive an RF tube hard, but you cannot drive a glass tube. You overdrive that, you shorten the life, and it's junk. Right. So mine, but I knew this because I'd watched Russ's videos. So when I ordered mine, it was eyes wide open. They said it was a 100-watt machine. It's an 80-watt machine. If you run it at 100 watts, it'll run great for a few months.
Right.
But I've got the same tube in now for a couple of years, and it's doing great. But that, and also you need a chiller, not just a little fan floppy cooler they send. So, I mean, go in eyes wide open, watch Russ's videos. I mean, I watch them as soon as they come out every day. So
now, from two guys talking about this, you think I ought to tear that Epilogue apart and put a working controller in it? You think it's worth it?
What problem do you have with it the way it runs now?
It's got to be ran on an XP machine on LPT ports.
I mean, is it giving you errors or problems?
Yeah, it's inoperable right now because the software that it runs on, it actually runs on a Radius 32 executable XP driver.
Yeah.
The problem with that is, at that time, XP was, I'm not even sure, like, there was a pro version, there was a home version.
Yeah.
And if you,
I mean, the long story short, and the reason for my question is, I'm a big fan of, if it's not broken, don't fix it.
Right,
but if it is broken, then maybe you want to fix it. So, yeah, I mean, I would
do you think
take it apart and see how it works? Huh?
Do you think watching Russ's videos that I could figure out what control board would work with it?
I think if you watch since you have a metal tube, I think you should, watch his little Tangerine Tiger experiment that he's in the middle of right now. Okay. It's a 20 watt, but he goes over a lot of the XY mechanics, but in it, so you can fast forward or skip that if you've already got that under control. But he does talk a lot about the wiring and the thing. Download a Rowita controller manual, look it over. I really believe, I assume it's stepper driven, and so
yep,
that's the same world no matter what machine it's in. And the Rowita controller has output for the drivers. So I would rip into it and go to it. I mean, if it doesn't work, what do you got to lose?
Right. Because right now it's just a big brick.
Yeah.
It was actually given to me by my friend Ruth, and I put it out there. I told her, she's like, it's taking up room. I've got another laser here. Come get it. Like, find somebody that'll buy it. If they won't, come get it. I tried to find somebody. It's so old, nobody wanted to buy it. Yeah. So now it's a brick sitting on my shop floor.
Yeah.
I have been so hesitant to drive into it because I'm like, am I going to spend, $2,000 on retrofitting it when I could just spend an extra $1,000 and get a brand new China laser K40? Right.
It's definitely not a K40. I watch his video though, and it'll explain some about RF. You may not want it because of the actual limitations that RF has at that size.
Right.
So, I mean, personally, I don't see any need to have less than an 80-watt machine.
Right.
But again, it's what I have, so it's what I know and love. But I can cut 1/2-inch thick wood, or I can engrave on it, or I can, whatever. So.
Right. And that's really interesting to me. But once again, this is one of those things where I get jazzed on I get jazzed on the journey, not the product.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, it's like an old car you're going to restore, right? So you want to bring it back to life, you can bring it back to life. Is it going to be worth what you have in it? Could you ever sell it for what you've got in it? Don't know. So 2 seconds. I got to go open the door and let my employee in so he can run the store.
Okay. All right. So guys, we're on with, let me see here. There we go. We're on with Rob Johnson from 490 Creations and learnplasmacam.com. He's given us a plethora of time this morning. I love it. I'm hoping that this massatizes into more customers asking specific questions about their product and more clients looking at, hey, you know, these guys do this and this is how and this is why, you know, and moving forward with actually understanding what goes into their product. You know, it's not as simple as a guy like Rob or myself buying a machine and pushing a button. It's not that simple, people. We have forgotten more knowledge than what we actually possess right now. We have forgotten more little tips and tricks and stuff for, especially if you run multiple machines, you know. So when you look at a part and you say, oh, I'm going to buy this Chinese 24 gauge tin sign for, you know, $15, when you could buy the same sign in 16 gauge for $30, and it's a homemade product by a down home guy. You know, a lot of us are not these huge corporations. I say a lot. There are some of them, but for the most part, we're not millionaires on this thing. We're doing it because we love the journey.
I'm 100 air.
What's that?
I'm 100 air.
I'm not even.
I'm 100.
I'm you owe me. I'm the welfare version of millionaire.
The bank and I are very proud of this business, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, but no, you're right. I mean, and that I face in teaching is that people buy a machine because they think that you can plug it in like a printer, push the button, and it spits out a piece of metal that's ready to sell. And so that's not how life works.
Right.
So
I find that these machines, one of the things that you taught me with plasma in the beginning was I had a very hard time understanding reading the metal and what was happening in the process to diagnose where my fault lied. It's not the machine. It is me. It is what I am doing. Where am I going wrong? And now I can look at my metal. I can look at this metal and I can read the back of this metal is clean. It's fairly smooth, but I can tell you right now, lead in,
right.
Puncture, just because I came straight, I let the machine write my code instead of moving my lead in to arc it in.
Which is, I mean, and you know, not to beat it, but I do answer that question a lot too. Why can I see this little divot? And we can have class on that for 20 minutes. But the problem, contrary to what would seem to a mechanical mind to be correct, is not happening at the beginning of the cut. It's happening at the end of the cut. And so, especially if you notice it blown out on the backside more than the front.
Right.
And so having a curved lead in actually adds to that problem, doesn't take it away.
Right.
Because you increase the area where the torch is cutting over a path that's already been cut. And when it's over and the torch is over an area where there's no metal, it reaches out to find metal and it widens that gap. So increase the gap at the end of the loop until that goes away and it'll solve it. But
right. But that's something just so simple.
Yeah.
The people that get this are going to be like, this is the greatest thing.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But you and I look at it and we're like, well, shit, you should have done this and you should have done that. You know,
Post,
we're the
post
keep.
a picture of it. Post a picture of it on a CNC Plasma Facebook site, and I don't care if you hand cut it with a water jet and made it perfect, and you couldn't tell anything wrong with it. There'll be a list of problems posted by the end of the day with it. So,
Right.
I mean, yeah, it's but what I think is could be better, yeah, is perfect for the customer, and so you have to learn that.
Right.
You have to know the limitations of your machine and yourself, and make the product to the best of your ability. Now,
And that's the thing though, is being able to do it to the best of your abilities and read the surface
yeah,
and dial your machine in from that. Like I said, I cut this thing 3 times
yeah,
because I first off I had my amperage and my amperage up, my speed down, and not the right thickness of metal on the machine. Then I had to go back. Once I got it dialed in, the curvature right here blew out because it was thin. It was moving fast. And I think some of the metal warped because I had some of it hanging off the edge because it was the back end of an 8-foot piece, but I had like a 6-inch strip that didn't get cut from the 8-foot piece.
right.
So that 5-foot piece is hanging over there, putting tension, you know. So there were a lot of things that I've been doing this for years now. Like literally, I can go in, cut something without thinking about it. But this little stupid thing here, caused so many problems that I had to cut it 3 times.
Yeah, one of the pieces that I do, I have them cut in class, typically on a customer's table, especially if they're new and we haven't ever been to visit their shop before. And it's the full John 3:16 text, and I made it in the shape of the word love, and we cut it out. And some of the tolerances on it are 50, 60 thousandths.
Mm-hmm.
And but I've designed it so that when you create the cut paths, it cut one side of it, and then it's cool by the time it gets over to cut the other side, not burned up. But anyway, they're amazed because I cut it 190 inches a minute. Right. And with the correct acceleration settings, everything works. The dross is minimal. It's still, you're not going to get rid of dross in tight corners ever. Right. But it's minimal. And so, yeah, it's all file design and how you do it, and making your product and then setting the machine to cut it.
And that's the biggest thing, is knowing these machines. And it's not just the plasma. We talk a lot about plasma today because we both have the machine. We're both very familiar with it. But that goes for any of the machines. I mean, my milling machine, I just broke a $200 end mill in about 5 seconds because I was making some pockets. It was a case that has an aluminum cover over it that gets screwed down. So I took a 1/2-inch end mill. It's 1020 steel, 1.5 inch thick with 2.5 inch thick, 3-inch by 5-inch block.
Wow.
And I got to do an 1.5 inch pocket into it, and then relief on the top to put the case top on. So I set everything up. I know what I'm doing. Enter.
Yeah.
And it turned into a shooting bullet.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was because I sat there and put a decimal point in the wrong place.
Yeah.
Not by any fault of my own, by my fat freaking finger.
Yeah.
That's literally what caused that whole issue. And
it takes seconds. Yeah. It takes seconds. So if you're a business guy, you know how many of those breakages you're going to have a year, and you built that in your overhead so that it's not a big deal.
Right.
But, back that up, my poor brain. I remember earlier we were talking about when you first get into business and you think you're going to make all this money and pile it up around your ears. But part of one of the expenses that's most overlooked is depreciation, right? Depreciation, nobody figures it, because what do? You worked a job and you saved up the money, or you got laid off and cashed out your retirement. Now you're going to buy this machine and you're going to use it to make all this money. So you buy this machine and you look around you and you say, oh, these other guys, wow, their overhead is way high. Mine's not high. It's great. So I can charge half of what they're charging, get all the sales, and make all this money. Well, the problem is what happens in 5 years or so when your machine's completely worn out and you can't fix it anymore. Now you have to replace it. So if you didn't build in the value of the machine amortized over its life, you don't have any money in the bank to buy a new machine.
Right.
Okay. So you've got to build that in. And so that's what happens. I saw it in the heat and air business a million times. The guys throw some toolboxes and a jug of refrigerant in the back of his truck that he just bought, and he drives it around. Well, when his truck's worn out, he's out of business.
Yep.
I mean, he doesn't have any money to buy another truck, and he ain't got any credit left to buy one. So, know your expenses. So you talk about bit breakage, a minor failure in programming or operation, and you're in trouble. So yeah. I left the fan on my plasma table, and it sucked a bunch of cold air. It got below freezing that night in the shop and froze and broke my tube in the laser. So that cost me $1,000 to get one shipped, and it was right before Christmas.
Yeah, yeah, and it's simple stuff like that people don't realize. They tend to think that we make this so much money and we're millionaires, but we're humble. And it's like, no, as a matter of fact, to put this e-course together, I'm already, we're hovering around $6,000 because I had to buy photo equipment. I had to learn. So I had to buy classes on how to do this, videoing and stuff like that, lighting and just all kinds of different stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, wow, that I didn't think that was going to be that hard to do. It's creating an e-course. We're going to hop on the computer and I'm going to talk about what I know. And
I've been working 2 years trying to get a website up. So but
these guys don't realize that. They don't realize that PlasmaCam is a prime example. That machine, if you finance it and you get all the stuff that they offer that you think you're going to need, you're going to have an $18,000 to $20,000 machine.
Right.
It's not the $7,000 that's on the magazine.
They don't print the price there either, but yeah.
but right. What they don't tell you is that is the base machine.
Yeah. Right. Which will do next to nothing.
Right. That's not all the software upgrades that you need or should have.
Right.
That's not the upgrading torch. That's not the accessory packets to do other materials and other things, and
but the basic machine is buying a car with a standard transmission and no clutch. That's optional.
Right.
I mean,
it's really
doesn't work.
It's really one of those things that these guys don't realize. By the way, Seth is a blacksmith. So he just needs hot fire and a hammer. He needs to go to the hardware store and buy a new hammer.
And time, which will bring me back to the thing: you will run out of hours in the day if you break too many tools. So
right. Yeah. But
that's an art. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just one of those things that I think getting into this, people are so far removed from financial, whether it be financial responsibility or financial understanding, because that it used to be taught in school, and now the trades and financial liability classes are kind of a thing of the past.
Well, I got into air conditioning because I like to fix air conditioners. I didn't know how to make money fixing air conditioners. I just knew how to write bills for other people that I worked for.
Right.
And so when I first started out, my labor rate was the same as the company that I had just quit because that's what they charged. I had no idea how to figure my own labor rate. So I had to go learn how to do all of that. So yeah, from the business side of things, we're two different parallels here, right? Because you've got people in the trades and you've got people that are your customers. So on the trade side of things, it's really interesting that we know how to develop a product, make it on a machine, run that piece of machinery, make it, sell it, and be able to have a living, for ourselves and our family. On the customer side of things, quite honestly, they don't need to know, want to know, or care. They want their product that they purchased to be something that they wanted, and it to be made the way they want it. They don't care how you make it. So, we have to be careful how much of that conversation we have with our customers, because they don't know what CNC plasma cutting is. They don't really care. They want a metal cake topper, or they want a 20-inch tall Bigfoot cutout, or they want a sign to hang on their wall that says the Johnsons. They just want a sign. They just want something. So, I mean, a lot of guys get tripped up trying to explain to people how they have to do it, when people buying it really don't care.
They don't care about. I had customers. I'm lucky. A lot of my customers are understanding of my health issues, but I've had customers, they don't care.
No,
that's not my problem.
Right.
I want you to make this, make it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can't right now. Well, yeah, you can. No, I can't. Go somewhere else.
Right.
And I learned early on, I'll be the first one to fire a customer.
Oh, absolutely.
And they're like, what do you mean fire a customer? You can't fire a customer. Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
Take your happy ass on down the road to John Smith and have him do the project, because I know it's going to be a headache.
Yeah. Oh, he's back to work. It's terrible. I got to do it after a bit anyway. But yeah, it's we sell a product and we have a target market, and that target market wants to buy that product. And so if they want to buy it from us, I would love to sell it to them, but I mean, yeah, I fired one the other day because she needed this moved, and this text made a 16th of a millimeter bigger, and this is center this and move that, and I looked at this old version of the cup, and this new one has a little ring at the bottom, and we don't like that. We want all of those. And so I gave her her money back and said, you're never going to be happy, so I'm not interested in doing your work.
Right. I guess before we close out here, you and I have a project we're working on. I'm in the R&D phase of it. What's that like for you, reaching out and working with another company?
Well, I mean, let me see who's calling. Oh, it's mute them. That's somebody needing some assistance with their plasma cam. So, I mean, it's a lot of fun to develop these products and offer them to people that I have in class and people that I've made, friendships with. Because like your closed group idea, I have a Facebook group that is strictly people who have been to my class. Nobody else is in it. And so I try to answer questions there first. Oddly, there aren't a lot of questions there because they've been through the class. But we get them sometimes, and we share stuff, and we do talk about, other stuff. But I mean, it's great to work with other companies that can meet a need and get something done. I don't have time, right? So I hope you have time so that we can develop this thing and have a great product to sell. Because then we both get to make money. I mean, I for instance, work with Mick in Australia and am now the distributor for Snap and Cuts everywhere except Australia, where he's kept it, which is great. I don't want to ship to Australia anyway. But he was facing some issues getting things to customers timely with COVID shipping problems, because it'll sit at an airport waiting for an outbound flight. And so I order a bulk at a time and sell them and ship them and take them to classes and sell them at the classes that I have. So, it's great to collaborate with people who have a product that helps the people that I'm doing something else with. And so I think that's where the product that we're talking about can go. And I'm really looking forward to that. If I had some, I could probably sell 10 of them this week. But
I'll tell you what, it's been rough for me, but we worked on a prototype. We had an initial prototype that I tested out, and I broke the ear on it. And when I broke the ear, I said, that's not going to work because we're going to replace more using that material than we would the new material. And so looking at that's always one of those things is time versus money versus replacement. And juggling everything when it comes to that. The initial cost is going to be a little bit more now, but you're going to end up with a product you're not going to have to reman.
Well, sure. I don't want to sell somebody something that I have to work on all the time.
Right.
I don't want my product that I have to work on all the time. I want it to just work.
Right.
And so that's how we have to develop it. But I mean, and I've been making wiring harnesses, and so the time in a day. So I mean, I have a custom one that I made running on my machine now with drag chain, and it's working great. So I mean, that's what I'm doing is testing it to see how it holds up. Right. But it's twice the length of the original harness for my machine, so it's 20 feet long from end to end. And
what is the purpose of that?
So I've completely gotten rid of the boom up above, and so Plasma Cam has the suspended cables running down to their drive motors. And so I didn't want that. I have an overhead gantry crane for loading my table. And so I took a big saw and cut off the top of my boom and switched it over to have drag chain with the cable in it, like is on a lot of other CNC machines, like your mills and everything, where you can't have dangly cables. But that was my whole reason to do that. And I have had many people who are, converting their tables and want to do something similar, or want a custom length so they can move the controller to somewhere else. And so that's what I've done. But I had to buy all those ends and learn how to, crimp the stupid things together and make the whole thing, because they won't sell it any other way. So good news is it's going fine. Bad news, I don't have any time to make them right now. So.
Yeah, it's really one of those things. Once again, it's time in a day.
Yeah.
And machines and everything. I mean, we are the backbone of the American economy and the American experience.
Yeah.
When it comes to this.
It is, and this is where that's where the development comes from. So it gives people the option to use these things, and the maintenance kit. I'm collaborate with a guy on those, and he gets things imported and puts the whole thing together with bearings and springs and belts, and then I resell them.
Is that Van?
Yeah, John. Yeah, yeah.
I got his original maintenance kit.
Yeah.
2 years ago, I think. It's
right.
About time to do another one.
It is. I mean, and they're inexpensive enough. They're so much less than the other, buying all those parts individually that it's really a good deal. And, we don't have any exclusive agreement. I mean, he sells them through his channels. I sell them on my website and in classes. So, it works great. But if you go to a class to learn how to run your machine, and oh, by the way, for $135, here's a complete maintenance kit for it. It doesn't matter if you got a brand new machine. Now you need to have that on the shelf.
Yep.
And so I sell a lot of them that way. So, So that's been it.
Rob, I think you need to get in and get your people set up and do your thing. So I don't want to take any more of your time, but I want to thank you for coming on, especially on short notice. And then on top of that, just for dropping some knowledge on us and letting us get into some real in-depth stuff this morning. I appreciate it, and I appreciate your time, and I just want to thank you in front of everybody for everything you've allowed me to do, because without your help, my plasma business wouldn't have taken off like it did. So thank you very much.
Well, you're very welcome. Thanks for having me on. It's been a lot of fun, and I too am out of coffee, so I got to go remedy that. So
all right,
time to go make the donuts.
Sounds good. You have a good day. Take it easy, guys. Once again, this is Rob Johnson from 490 Creations and LearnPlasmaCam.com. Give him a like on Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah, it's on there too somewhere. 490.
all the social medias that he's on. Give him a like his website, and let's go from there. Have a good day.
Thanks, Chris. You too.
Later.